Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Taylor Schlupp here. Hope that you're all doing well, staying safe out there. This is a very special video for me. We're going to kind of nerd out and I'm going to tell a story here. So if you guys find it boring, feel free to move on, but there's a really cool story behind this guitar. If you couldn't tell by the title of the video, this is my dream 335 and I got it. It's a 1968, and that's cool because it's 10 years after the 335 came out, so that's kind of a cool, just kind of year, I think. And it had everything that I wanted in the 335. The right tailpiece, it was red, it had block inlays. So here's the story. I actually got this back in June. I'm filming this right now at 11:30 p.m. on November 23rd. So it's been gone for a few months. It needed some TLC, and I had a buddy of mine do work on it, and it plays like brand new. It's amazing. So let's rewind a few years. This is a very special guitar to me because it comes from two of the greats from the town where I'm from, and first of all, it was owned. First of all, let me just say, if you're a guitar player and you're from the city of Mansfield, Ohio, odds are that you've heard the name Pat Wassman. Okay, Pat Wassman is, in my opinion, the greatest guitar player in Mansfield, Ohio that ever was. The best tone. He's just an amazing player. Can play anything. Eric Clapton, Jimi Hendrix, Chet Atkins, anything, classical, jazz. And the story kind of goes back to when I was about 13 and really started getting serious about guitar. I used to go in with my dad to the music store here in town, Metronome Music, which I ended up working at later on. And my dad would always say, if we saw Pat out, like waiting on a customer or something, he would always say, "That's Pat Wassman. That's the repair guy here. He does all the repairs." And he would say, back in my day, playing out in the 70s, 80s, 90s, Pat was the best in Mansfield. And I was always kind of like, okay, yeah, that's cool, because you never really got to hear him play. Fast forward about a year, when I was 14, I was in the store just noodling around on a Strat, I think, and Pat came out of the back. He wasn't a sales guy, he just did repairs. He came out of the back, and he was showing a customer something that he did to their guitar, and he plugged it into, I can't even remember what amp it was, but I was just kind of watching it off in the distance, and he kicked off a couple licks, and I was like, okay, I'm starting to get what my dad's saying here. So then fast forward to 2015, right before I turned 20, I started working at Metronome. I was going to college at the time. I was working at Metronome, and that's actually when I met Robert Baker, because he was working at Metronome at the time as well. And I got to get to know Pat, and he's just the funniest, older dude that you could ever meet. He's full of humor, and he's got a really good heart and everything. And I to this day I go visit him once or twice a week. Just, it's just a good time, always a good time hanging with Pat. So I got to know him working at Metronome, and heard all of his stories about back in the day, playing and everything. this was his guitar, okay, back in the late 70s, I think, until about the mid 80s when he sold it to another great guitar player here in Mansfield named Frank Boyd Jr. Frank is another one that when I was growing up, every year we'd go to a benefit for Make-A-Wish Foundation put on by Frank Medley, and every year Frank Boyd would do a blues set, and my dad would always brag about Frank Boyd, and this was his guitar from the mid-80s. He bought it from Pat. Mid-80s to mid-2000s, I think, is when he sold it, and then he sold it off to another guy who then sold it back to Pat the year that I started working at Metronome, so it went full circle. Okay, now on another tangent, where my love of 335s began, 2016, my second year working at Metronome, a guy named Ford Thurston came in, and he was with our Digitech rep, showcasing the new pedals that they had, and he walked in, and he set down his guitar, and they said, well, we're gonna go to lunch, we'll leave my guitar here, and I'm like, what's in the case? And he's like, oh, take it out, play it, man. It's a 67 335. I had no idea what I was playing at the time, and he was so cool enough to just let me take it out and play it while he was gone. And
you don't buy that.
Sounds great.
Met Ford Thurston that day, became obsessed with 335s, and that was the very first 335 that I had ever played. So now fast forward to about 2019, you guys saw I borrowed a couple of Pat's last year. I borrowed his 69 with the trap tailpiece, and I borrowed that 66 with the sunburst finished. Well, this was the only one that I hadn't played of his. So about, back around when quarantine started, I was visiting Pat one day, and I said, hey, I've never gotten to play that 68 that you have. And he said, well, go get it, and you can take it home and play it and everything. Well, the pickup that was in it didn't work in the bridge. So I was pretty much just set to using the neck pickup for a while. And he had promised it to somebody else that wanted to buy it, but he told me that was 3 years ago, and I said, well, you know, if they end up backing out of the deal, let me know. So about June, he calls me up and he says, hey, I'm giving that guy a week to get the money, and if he doesn't buy it, then you can buy it. So I was really hoping that it was going to work out. The other guy ended up passing on the deal because he had bought like 5 other 335s off Pat in the past, and he said, well, if you want to buy it, it's yours. So I went to the bank, and he gave me such a good deal on this, and the fact that he gave me a good deal and it belonged to him and Frank Boyd, I just couldn't pass it up. So this is my dream 335. It hasn't been with me for a few months, and that's why I haven't done a video on it yet. But now it's ready to go. It is in great condition. I mean, look at that there. I'll show you guys closer up. Okay, so what I had done to it, I took the pickup that was in it out, the one that wasn't working. The only one that was original was in the neck, and part of the deal that me and Pat had was he gets both of the pickups back. So I put a Seymour Duncan Pearly Gates in the bridge, and I wanted something a little thinner, not as boomy as like what my Les Paul is. So I put a Fat Cat P90 by Seymour Duncan in the neck. Now, unlike my Les Paul, where we did 2 dummy knobs, they all work on this guitar, and they have the in parallel treble bleeds on both the volume pots. So, play you guys a little example of what it sounds like here. Here's the bridge, kind of clean at about 3 on the volume. We'll go to the middle. And the neck. Alright, now that is with the bridge pickup, the tone on it at about 7. What I'm finding out about this Pearly Gates is that it's a pretty bright pickup. So here's about 7 on the bridge position. Really nice crunch tones. Alright, and then if we go to the middle. And on the neck. All the way up on the bridge. Neck. It's really spanky, just like kind of like a Strat. The rig that I'm running today is just the 335 right into the Supersonic, and we're going into the 2 notes with the 212 greenback, and we got the reverb coming out of the DAW. So, yep. So, that's it, you guys. This is my dream 335. If it came down to owning 2 guitars, I know I've always been a Strat guy, and I still am. Strat is still my favorite model of guitar. But if it came down to owning 2 guitars, it would definitely be my Les Paul Custom. That was my uncle's who taught me, and my uncle is also one of the best guitar players that Mansfield's ever seen. And then Pat's guitar here, the 335. Pat and Frank's. Just feel honored to have this passed down to me. It feels like they're passing the torch. Check out that rash on the back. Look at that. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. Hope that this video didn't bore you guys to death, but yeah, I just wanted to share this guitar with you. It's really special to me, and just a lot of history to it. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time, and keep on keeping on.